because we have to somehow have the technology to figure out how to make things. And we're not even looking at plants because we say that that is just one form of, it's just a species which is surviving by itself, but it's so integrated and it's been around for so much longer than humans have. But we are somehow not willing to accept that intelligence and build from there, except for a small core group of researchers like you who have understood this.
There are a lot of young researchers who are eagerly interested in this field, but the
Okay.
problem is the lack of potential guidance in the early stages. So they do a
Right.
degree and they fall out and they go into the field of computing or some place where they can get a job, because obviously when you come into this field, the persistence is the key. You have to
Right.
be like a plant, you have to persevere, right? But the reward
Yeah.
is the plants teach you a lot of things. It teaches
Right.
you, even if you don't get much out of it. If you do an undergrad in botany, you'll be very patient.
Right.
You'll learn a lot of patience, because the plants don't do things suddenly, they take time. So your observation skills are very keen. If you
Right.
spend the time with the plant, your observation skills are going to be very keen. Second, you're going to understand something very fundamental about life. You see,
Right.
you learn how the plants fix carbon, how you produce, how the food gets into the supply chain. You understand nature. There's a lot of interesting information that converges as you start to study them. But
Okay.
the challenge we face is, as a young student, is first the structuring of these programs have to be revamped. The structuring.
Okay.
We start, if you go into a classical botany, undergrad program, they start off by classifying organisms. So one of the things that we are trying to engage with many
Ah,
people in society is to build an alternate curriculum.
okay.
But you start with how the planet is,
Okay.
because
Right.
this most of the life on this planet is plants. We live in a plant world, right? So we talk
Right.
about the planet, we talk about the biosphere, and then we talk about how the biosphere evolved. So
Okay.
students get a long window of time to see through into the world of things. And as they look at it, you engage with them how this planet transformed over time.
Right.
Each one of
Right.
those transformation events are related to the way the plants adapted and the animals adapted with them.
Yeah.
And suddenly now, the classification of plants is not a big problem,
Yeah. It's
because
not.
it is, you start to see how they're connected at the core.
Okay.
And then you see the different branches, of different groups of plants. But essentially, to the core, it's called monophyletic, which means that they started from one point and they've continued that path continuously in a
Okay.
continuum. So once you get that, I think botany is going to be one of the most interesting subjects, because it gives you a window into the planet. It gives you a window into how things have changed over time, which is what we're dealing with, climate change and sustainability. So no matter where you go and what you do, this is going to come back at you as an administrator, as a businessman, as an entrepreneur, or as a government agent. Every one of you will be challenged with these questions about sustainability and climate change. So even getting a certificate program in this might be very useful looking into the future, because you can start to think differently. You become more phytocentric. You start to engage, and then eventually you shift from anthro to ecocentric.
Mm.
But the gateway is through the plants. Otherwise you can't understand it. The easiest way to segue into being more ecocentric and balanced is to shift to a phytocentric perspective. Ask how the plants
Right.
came into this world, how things adapted, how things changed, and suddenly you shift from one side of the spectrum to the middle. You don't become a plant,
Wonderful.
obviously, but you come to the middle. And then when you find the balance, that's where, and if you're a botanist, I think if you can, that's what I'm saying, how can you be a better entrepreneur as a botanist? You can get into any one of these fields and help other people. Because
Right.
future is, people would not want to know more about the plant world.
So give me an understanding of, there is this visual of a thin sapling breaking out of hard rock,
Right.
right? That is used as an analogy for so many things in the world,
Right.
that triumphing against the odds, the importance of perseverance. But as a botanist, tell me, how does it happen?
The sapling taking root in between a rock.
Inside a hard stone rock and
Or you can
emerging.
look at hard concrete. Some of the seeds come through hard concrete. I don't know if you've
Okay.
seen a metal
Yes.
road. If there's a small crevice, you'll see a plant sticking out.
How do they
Or on
do
the
it?
roof of after heavy rains, if the
Right.
roof is neglected, tiled roof, you'll see
Right.
small plants sticking out. The seeds
Right.
germinate.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the reason is it goes to the core of how plants adapted actually. When the plants
Okay.
start, not the algae were out in the ocean, right?
Right.
So if you want a short historic or an evolutionary window, plants, the world of plants started very early in evolution, but not as a multicellular form. It was just like a bacteria, it was a unicellular form, right?
Right.
Cyanobacteria. They were the
Right.
first kind of plant like, but they're bacterial structures, but you can think of it as the beginning of plants. And then the actual plant world starts with a group called algae,